right there. So, what did I want to discuss? I wanted to discuss a tool for creating web applications. Finally, we can develop web application in an easier way or in a similar way as we can do for desktop. This tool was developed by us for internal use, but after that, we actually presented it to mass market. This is our Russian development, and you can download it. The website is www.lui-forms.ru, and you can try it on your PC. The main purpose is, of course, to save the efforts of the developer and to create applications in a fast way. Declarative approach is used. All browsers are supported, and this tool is not intended for the development of websites with beautiful forms, with advertising. This tool should be used for developing industrial web applications. So these are internal systems, probably state systems or corporate systems, where it's important to achieve a result, not to attract customers. In most cases, the following types of screen forms are used: the list, blank, and tree list, and declarative programming. What is the essence of it? This is the list of books. The task is to select a name of a book, and the authors should be selected automatically in that case, or you can select an author and the book should be updated. On procedural languages, traditional development, we would have to use 20 or 30 strings of code, and here we used 4 selects only. To understand the way it works, I would like to represent this scheme. All the data of application are stored in Postgres DBM as the server of the application reads this data, interprets them, and provides them to the server of visualization, whose task is to feed the browser with HTML, CSS, and JavaScripts. And applied databases, including Postgres, Oracle, MySQL, well, it is better if they're separate. In that case, performance will be higher, although it's possible to have everything in one DBMS. These 3 components are LUI. They are scaled on each layer. The performance we actually tested it on inexpensive servers. Each of them actually cost 60,000 rubles, and on 200 threads, we generated 4 forms within 1 millisecond. As a rule, a list has the following components: the header space, toolbar, fixed group of scrolling down, so outside the zone of scrolling, and overrun areas, 1 or more. So normally they contain large text, and there is a screen with the results. Every list has opportunities for users' query implementation. QBE language that was devised by IBM makes it possible for us to introduce criteria in one string that are collected by E and in other strings that are connected by OR. So in one string by and in the other string by or, and we get the following predicates. There are modes for sorting in columns and sorting indication. It is possible to manage the mode of columns representation. That is not about programming. These are the opportunities given to the end user without programming. And changing external borders of the columns and the window itself, criteria of search and sorting, these can be saved in the form of configuration, and it can be called, for example, instead of basic configuration or from the main menu. The actions that the developer should program in a declarative way in the development environment, can call other forms, can fulfill programs on SQL language and other languages, PGSQL, JavaScript, Java. It's possible to call a command of operating system, and these actions are available from the toolbar, from the local menu box or unit, from the system menu, from column menu. All these are opportunities of user interface. The appearance is quite similar to Windows working in browser. Normally, web applications that are built by most of the tools that are present in the market, including the ones provided by very famous suppliers, actually have page arrangement, and to see a long list you need to press next every time, and in this case you can scroll down the lists. So this is an imitation of desktop application in web environment. The applications created in this tool are awarded with important infrastructure features. These are user management, roles management, message management, including interception of messages from PostgreSQL. For example, we input criterion in the string user p key. If primary key is violated, the message will be appropriate, not key violation, and it really saves the efforts of developers. Applications can be multi-language ones. The number of languages are not limited, but in our development tool we have Russian and English. Besides, we made a major improvement, and all the main types of data in Postgres were implemented on board of our system. So now we can leave actually these slides, and within my tutorial I would like to show you how to create an application. So let's enter the system as user SD. We can see the main menu of development framework. We cannot see anything here. Oh, okay. Well, in this menu there is application section, and here you can see the applications that are available to the user, that I'm using now. And our task, this is our application, this is assemble, and our task is to develop a new application. And you can select the button add and introduce a code of applied system. By default you have a number here, but it's better to introduce your initials.
The subject matter of the application is the support service. Let us move on. This is the wizard in action, which placed some data in the database. If I press further, we'll see more insert. If I press cancel or back, we'll have the rollback. That means that we have the long-term transaction process, not as an SQL commit. Can you see it better? Yes, much better. So Wi-Fi is on. Please get connected. We're having a tutorial here. So as we created, you can see connection with the database to be used in design time. In runtime, when the available application operates, the data will be changed, the username may be different, the schema may be different. Let me add public and press check or verify. Now we can move on. This is the form where the boxes are checked. The checks are against the module of applications that we can create. The tree-shaped menu, write control rule, and version control management. Version control management is built in a classical way. So the developer captures a list or a tree menu, and if it is taken or captured, no one else who can do it. So this is the classical version control system. So we can also add detailed description. Here, Sasha, can we skip technical details? Maybe someone would like to do the same at the same time as you. Please enter SD password. This is the speech text editor in the web browser. Here we can insert pictures or anything else. So you can see that one of the listeners was able to create an application system. He's an absolute hero in spite of all difficulties. This is the application that I have developed. To enter the editor of screen forms of this application, I press this icon. So we see that we were rewarded by the forms. So the menu was provided to us. We ordered it. Let us create a list now. With the right button, select add the list, add list. This is the list code, SDL, company. So in Russian, we will use the word organization or entity. So as I said, the subject matter is software support service. You are very well aware of it, of this subject matter area. So here we have a list of entities, and I can configure. We need the configuration mechanism to implement inheritance. We can have subordinate configurations with slightly different properties. So not to create too many forms, we decided to create inserted configurations. So to add our table to the main list query, press the right button and select Add Table. And here we select SDT company. This is the company and the support service. So let us give it a nickname. And let us add columns from this list. From this table to this list, we will add columns. And select all with the right button of the mouse. So, and we add columns. Therefore, we have these elements: address, email address, name. Let us arrange it in a more logical way. So here is the name, here is the email address. Status is here. and phone numbers here. So the primary key, primary ID tells me nothing. So I say I do not need it. It is not available. It will not be available to the end user. So a comment is usually a long text. Let it be. But by default we do not see it. So if we launch it, we will see this boring grid, boring list. We can scroll it up and down, but it is not very interesting. So the entity status is represented by a code which I do not like. Com is probably community, AGR, probably agreement, VIP, everyone understands VIP. I want to see the names of those statuses of organizations. So let me take the column status and give it a different heading, column heading. So in the SQL expression, I will say select. So we extract data from a different table, and this will be the value of the column. From the point of view of accurate development, it would be added to make join from the two tables and put them together. But this is only an example that I'm showing you. As far as this field is concerned, better apply the created templates to it to get the more qualitative brightening of the line, both for the phone and for the address. So brighter shading or a brighter fill. Let's have a look what we've got now after those iterations. So my query is not defined in an appropriate way. So now the list is much better. So we have colors, ergonomic colors, and here in the addresses we have geographic objects. They are gray. The spaces are red. So it looks better. Now let us connect this list to the application menu and create actions to be able to retrieve the created list or to call upon the created list. Let us make it number 1 on the list. So we can select an icon for this item. Let's pick this one. and launch the application. Let me open one more tab in the browser. To be able to launch it. So the library are uploaded. So in the latest version we do not have this. We do not see this. So let me enter it here. So this is my application, which I developed. I can launch it and see the menu item that I have created. So type of the recalled object list, and this is the name and the screen form for it. So the password and the username are the same, SD and SD. So this is the list that we created, which can be called upon in our application. So we've been working for an hour. Let us create one more module. We'll try to do it quick. So you saw how a grid was created. Let us add a form. It's not going to be a grid any longer, it's going to be a form. So this is the notation we like using. 2 or 3 letters with the application code. B stands for form, L stands for list, and some semantics. And then we do a similar thing, almost the way we did with the list. So we press the right button, select the table, and add the elements to our form, to our blank form. So we say add fields. So this is the form that we have. We can see the elements of that form. Arrange the fields in a more logical way. Name, status. Instead of signature, let us say status. And add the drop-down menu in the form of a reference table. So this is the code and this is the name. So the select is generated and it will be shown on the form. As to the rest of the fields, I will select templates, template for the address, template for email address, and a template for the phone number. Comments? Let us make it. I will delete the ID organization field. So back to comments. Comments will come in the following form. We'll have formatted text, which helps create the editor in the form fields. We want this editor to take up to 5/9 of the size of the form. We also need to add one more element to this form, the input parameter. Not to create a new organization, but to edit the existing entity, the existing organization. So the query in this field, we will edit it as follows. F9 key in this long line editor, or we can press the right button, but I prefer key F9. Helps me select references with F notation, column, and then interface elements. They're created for JavaScript, and they contain data as is. If we use this notation, so the absent value will be transferred to null, and the double parenthesis will be converted to 1. So we need to add actions to save the entered data. So I will add actions, element code. I say OK. So I do not need the name, I only need to save the data. Role by default. So with this action, I need to make changes in the database, either insert or update. The form is both for new organizations and for editing data on the existing organization. So I will call upon a multi-line window and will write a program on PSPG SQL. If the input parameter is empty, let's assume the form is called upon to create a new organization, to enter data on the new organization. And that means we have to make an update. There is a good assistant for the software developer. Let's do insert in this table. As you see, so the operator was written automatically. I use sequences and do not use serial tips. Here I say next wall comes from my sequence. SDQ company. And we also add update to it, update of this same table, update of all columns except for the primary key. So the link will be written for the input parameter.
Вызывать этот
Calling this blank is possible from the list by the actions we create there. So I returned to the list. Now I can add here action element and input its code. I add it. The name is to add, and the role is add. I inserted. Why do we need a role here? I want our hotkeys to work because apart from the mouse and toolbar, I want to have hotkeys. That is F6 button if I want to create new data in grid. And what will we call by this action? Called object, that is blank, that we had prepared. Let's see the way it works. I will have to load it once again. Well, while it is being loaded, I can add another action. The editing. So the code of the element is added. The name change. And I will call the similar blank to edit the existing organizations. I will enter the parameter of organization ID. It is present in that blank, and I will refer to the value in a box of the list. Here I have actions in the toolbar. I have these buttons. So I press enter and I can see data for editing. The form is quite appropriate, and in the telephone field, when entering numbers, an assistant program will help me do that. All of this can be set in the templates of this development tool. There is a syntax error somewhere. So, we discussed the advantages of this tool. We showed you the way development framework looks like, and now we can try launching a sample that had already been created. So I exit this program. So this sample had already been created. And we will see the advantages for the end user, and we will see the ready application. Password and username are similar. Here there is a button for adding. If I'm a new user and I want to register in the support service, I can press this button. So you can press it and enter your data, and we will be grateful if you do that. We created a list of organizations, and in the ready application it looks in the following way. And in this application there is a master and a detail employees. These are employees of the organization. Master and detail are made in a similar way to the way I called blank from the list, not by a button but in an automated mode. So one list is called from another one, providing parameters. And here we have another mechanism implemented, that is automatic selection of addresses by the inputted value. For example, I start entering a name of a street and the system tries finding this name by the criterion I entered. And here, as I said, it is possible to enter text. It's almost like Word. In the lists created in this application, so I can enter the list of applications that were submitted to the support service. There are following opportunities. Scrolling. So here we can see a fixed zone, and these columns can be visible, invisible, and we can move them between zones. Or, for example, the subject matter can be moved to the overflow zone in this way. This is the left button of the mouse. Transfer to a different group and overflow. In that case, the subject matter column will be opened in this way, and if we had a lot of text here, it would have been really convenient. I showed in my presentation that there is UBE language that is available by these buttons, input criterion and query implementation. It is possible to sort not only columns using right button, not only for a specific column, it's possible to add the necessary number of columns, sorting them in a specific way, and managing the place of values. Whether they are on top or in the bottom of the list. It is also possible to calculate the number of strings, and we can also show the results. What is configuration saving? The configuration that you can see here with the subject matter on the right and with some criteria for searching for an application received from a client. So I can select it, I can state that it's necessary to save the configuration, and I can give a name here. And I can arrange for fast access instead of standard list or from the main menu, for example, from the main menu. So, when I enter the application, I can see this point where everything had already been set, and search criterion is saved as well. And the next important issue that is present in all the screen forms, well, that's about various convenient issues. It's possible to return the display setting. In that case, everything will be returned to the initial state. that was supposed by the developer. Let's see the way we got here. This is our complete way. Sometimes we ask clients to tell us how they reached this form, and in that case it is the easiest way to send this message to the support service. There is a calculator, and why did we include it into every screen form? Well, first of all, it is possible to take the value of a field from somewhere, if it were an invoice, for example, or if it was a payment or some accruals, it would be really convenient in that case. And you can consider simple examples here. For example, in JavaScript, if you divide 1 by 2, it will be 1/2, and if you use SQL and divide 1 by 2, the result will be 0. An experienced Postgres user will explain why it happens this way. And apart from calculator, it is possible to switch on debugging mode that will record all the actions of the user. Now I entered the list of messages. This is a track on application. So I fulfill some queries, fulfill all the actions, and I have this kind of log with all the selects and all the actions that I fulfilled represented there. And yes, it is possible to see the current form, and I can use help. Actually, it should be programmed by the developer, and some basic issues regarding screen forms, their columns and the actions, well, this can be done by default. It is generated automatically. And for applied systems, we also offer such option as data grouping. Many companies buy expensive BI systems. They pay a lot of money, although they need only a report in graphical form, and we will try preparing such a report now. I act as an end user. As a criterion of aggregation, I will use the date of application with the function of limiting it up to 1 year. And I will summarize the number of primary keys. So I will change the name and write quantity. Everything you can see here was built on LUI. This is an applied system that was built on LUI. And I will take another criterion of aggregation, that is the type of application, application on error, application on improvement, or a question. And another criterion is responsible for working with the client. And I will select the second name only, the family name only. And let's see what we have. These are data aggregated and sorted by the criteria that I ordered, and here you can see their quantity. Actually, that is grow by plus order by. I can see the outcomes, and I can even show these outcomes on top of it if I order sorting. So I have 5,000 something applications. In 2012 I had this number of applications. Improvement applications were 4, and one of them was provided by Mr. Abdrakhimov. This is the way we can interpret the data, and these data can be represented in a graphic view, and it's possible to see the totalization of the data. So I selected the year, now I can select the type, and I can see the responsible employees. Well, these are the simplest diagrams. And looking here, we can see that their list is quite extensive. We can build a 3D diagram. And we can build a circle diagram and a horizontal diagram with columns. And the circular diagram should be represented on the right, and the horizontal diagram with columns should be represented in the bottom. And I would like to add another criterion for grouping. That is, for example, customer company name. So let's see what we have. So here I can see the client, and the aggregation is done with regard to the client. This is a 3D diagram, and in this case we can switch off the legend. I don't really need it, and I can color the data on y-axis. So the younger is the application, the lighter it is. Or we can color them by the types on a different axis, or we can color them by the vertical, by the number of submitted applications. In that case, we can see the highest number of them, moving it in this way. So you can rotate it, or you can scale it, or you can rotate it like this. When we click one element of data, search criterion is formed and data on other diagrams are changed. We can see that the criterion was changed. This is the type of application error. It was prepared in 2013, and this criterion is included here as well. And if I want to see the customers Mr. Liubushkin worked with, I can see that I worked with these companies. Actually, the definition of the screen is not really good, but here there are scales for scalability. When there are a lot of data, you can work with scalability. And it is possible to download it as a PNG file. And also I forgot mentioning an important aspect. We will close it now, and all these lists can be saved in two formats. Now we want to extend this format range. Probably we will add CSV and something else, but this can be a web page, or it can be an electronic table. In that case, it will be available for Microsoft Excel and electronic tables of OpenOffice. We have checked it on LibreOffice at Libre's working stations. And these qualities are characteristic of the applications developed with our tool. You do not need to program these features, they are given by default. The speed of creating applied systems, well, you've seen it actually. It's possible to create a list and an entry form for entering data. And if I didn't have to tell you about that, I would have done it much faster. But I'm experienced, and unexperienced users normally create it within an hour or an hour and a half. That's why the speed for developing applications is much higher. Besides, You need to remember that what you need to send to the customer is the easiest way to send them a script that they will need to fulfill in their database, and in that case they will receive everything we're doing here. So we can send the whole script, or we can send specific features of the script.
This is how we can do it without stopping the application. We can therefore modify the application without reassembly, without recompilation. So our tutorial is almost over. We do not have any more time. I'm ready to take your questions, and again apologize for the technical issues that we had in the beginning. That was quite unexpected. Questions, dear colleagues? Yes, there are questions. You said this could be used for government customers. Yes, indeed. Is it Astra Linux Smolensk? And is there going to be certification for working with government customers? Well, this product has been registered on the list of Russian-made software. It does not contain any foreign components as they are. As to Astra Linux, we do use this product to create automation means and a migration from Oracle to Postgres. In other words, this tool works on Linux Astra. As far as the certification is concerned, if certification is required in order to work with some government companies, public companies, or high security companies, yes, we can do this certification. So we can certify our product if necessary. One more question. So this tool comes in black and white, in blue and white. We have design with a black background and orange frame and white letters. So, do you think we could use this combination of colors? Yes, I will answer your question in a minute. The so-called beauty editor is part of our product. This tool helps edit icons, make screens, beautiful backgrounds, or let's take an active window, and if you want to change the fill color, like this, for instance, you can do it. After the editing and having selected the corporate colors, I save it, and I will then apply it, and all forms will have the properties of this style. Additionally, there is another style not related to colors or fonts. It is associated with material design. This is a way to create fashionable applications where icons are animated. We have that as well. So, if you want to, we can create the style that suits your company, or you can do it using this tool. Thank you. My name is Evgeny. the LUI environment, is it deployed on some server application? Or should it be deployed on the server application? Yes, the environment should be deployed on a server where Java can be used. We do not use a dedicated application server. It is embedded. What you need is Postgres and the computer. So any computer with Postgres and JavaScript, you can do it, because our tool includes Tomcat, the application server, and Postgres Pro. So we do not need any external tool. As to packing into some container or Docker, yes, this can be done. We have nothing against it. For instance, if a customer is delivered LUI, we can add our forms to it. Not our forms, but the forms the client likes. LUI will include all the appropriate software. Absolutely, all the software is installed in it. Some Java files. They are installed, and the scripts to create data schema containing display forms, screen forms. This original installation is that we install those Java files, Tomcat, and we perform scripts for PSQL. So the installation that we have on the website, LUI-forms is the simplest. It is under Windows, and everything is embedded or packed inside. We have available packages to install in various Linux systems. So if you come to us, we'll arrange you a package for a specific Linux system. Version control. A question about the version control. We have developed a form for the customer. Now the customer wants to have changes. So you can change the version of different forms. Yes, we do. Let me show you. These are all the applications that we have. Let me enter one of them. There are quite a few. So I entered one of them, and here is a list, a green one. Green means available to be captured by other users. It has history. Yes, form development history. There were 3 versions. One in the very beginning, so 3 versions with appropriate dates. I can compare those versions. For instance, I can take this version and compare it with the other one, or with the current one. Well, there is no difference here. Everything is gray. Let me take the first version, the earliest, and compare it with the current one, or with one of the previous versions. And we see that there is some subconfiguration, some new elements. Green means something has been changed. And this is how development was taking place. So we can see the difference between the old and the new versions. We can see the old and the new values. So those versions can be recovered at a given moment. How do these versions created? So this list is in development. So we can finalize the work on the form, press finish or finalize, if you want to generate it to develop to the customer side, let me enter the editor again. So these are the forms in development. So all which is in development, we can select all, say finalize or finish, and then generate the scripts. We will have a long script, and I can send it to the customer, and that's it. Did I answer your question? Yes, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. A question about the authentication authorization. Number 1. In the new tab, why does it ask for new authorization? It happens. It's naturally, because it's a new browser. If we add a new tab, well, if it were cookies, well, we do not use cookies. So that means you have a single page application, which is the front end, and there is the back end where it is going to. I can tell you about the architecture. We have the browser, the application server, assembled in one, and the database. The browser itself has no intelligence as long as we add JavaScript to be able to draw windows. That's it. The authorization takes place through introduction of data into fields, by entering data into the fields. Then you press OK, and with the JavaScript and XML protocol, you send it to the application server. Then we get that data, do connect through GVBDC to Postgres, and that's all. The second question, authorization through LDAP. Possible? We have a mechanism of plugins. So all those languages that I showed you during the tutorial, SQL, PMPMG, JavaScript, and others, they are implemented as plugins. If LDAP is implemented as a plugin, then in the Active Directory, as we get data, we can go to the AD, check whether this user is existing. Whatever AD says, we will add to the screen. We do not have this, but we can do it. This can be implemented. So, unless it is necessary, we do not invest. If we don't see the palpable result coming, then we do not invest. LUI, is this the open source code? That means it can be found on the hub? No, we do not make the source code available publicly. So is it a commercial product? Yes, it is, and it has its price. So we give out the version for the Windows free, and the interface is written on Sencha XDS? No. Something similar? Maybe GVT? No. So this is the JavaScript fully written by you, and no violations of the licensing frequency. There are side libraries or third-party libraries, editors with shading. Editor with shading is probably ours. Yes, there are some outside libraries that we use, but they are fully with open licenses, so they do not require disclosure of an open code. This sounds suspicious. Free licenses, if we take something from outside, from third parties, we analyze whether we can cover the source code or not. A simple question. In my company, it's a real estate company and have a lot of geodata. And except for Cubis, there is no other good application where we could use the full scope of our geodata. Concurrently, along with the simple forms and tables. Have you ever thought of implementing this type of an application? Yes, we were thinking about making 3D business graphics, and not only 3D. For instance, we can depict cardiograms or Postgres load, and you could see that at our booth. The next step for us would be visualization of geodata. What are we going to do? Diagrams emerging in geographical centers of a given province, region, in a given city. So we'll do pie charts, bar charts, so ranging from the Far East to Kaliningrad. Also, public transport routes, buses, railway. So those diagrams will be implemented this year, most likely. For us, it's much simpler. We have available layers, some small geographic areas, and they have to be put on the map. Possible? So we can call screen forms from our diagrams. So what is good about charts? It's not a picture. It's a living picture. You click on it and you get something. It is especially good with geocharts. So we can call our application through your application. I think it would be a URL, a form with given parameters. This is an easy thing to do. We can look at more intellectual integration at a different level. More questions? Let us thank our speaker. We have one more final question. A question. Queries is a good thing. Calling upon external programs or operational system commands. Yes, we use commands of the operating system. We call upon them, we retrieve them. So those commands are created as any other screen form. For instance, add the operating system command. So I define parameters, syntaxes, what command line we get in the end, or string. So through lists and forms, I will address this command, and then the operating system command will be activated in the same fashion as we did with the list or form, although no screen effect will occur. But the outcome of a command will be known, and it could be processed. We can get hold of the outcomes. We have plugins that help us read the file, record the file, read item by item, line by line, process line by line. Yes, well, we have integration with the operating system. There is integration with the postal server, with the email server. We can do integration with SNMP server for sending text messages. What about procedures or processes in the database? Can they be called easier? Yes, in some of the forms. This is the wizard that I mentioned. Let's select next. Here we have simple SQL. And in this form, we can call upon a stored code. So we call a server function. We can say select and address the server function, or PMPG SQL can also help us do this. This is anonymous PSQL block or unit, so you can write whatever you want here. If in my application I have several connects concurrently to different databases, which is allowed, and even to different types of database management systems, and I will indicate the notation explaining which database I'm referring to. Like this. And connect with this name will be installed by the DB connect process on the form logon or as the application operates.
Well, indeed, the time is up. Let's thank the presenter.